Tuesday, January 27th meeting of the Harwich Planning Board. My name is Duncan Berry. I'm the chair of this meeting. Is there anybody in attendance that wishes to make a recording of any kind? Seeing none, I declare the meeting open at 6:32 and invite you all to stand and join me with reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We begin this evening with public hearing continued from Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025 and January 13th, 2026. It's case number PB 2025-33. William G. Glover III, owner, authorizes J. Thaddeus Eldridge, PLS, East Southeast LLC, seeks special permits for multifamily special permit and site plan review special permit with waivers. The proposed project is to modify a pre-existing non-conforming lot and structure to have a full second floor and construct a similar new structure to be connected and include a storage garage. The building will include 4 one-bedroom apartments with decks, 6 parking spaces, and second curb cut. The application is pursuant to the Code of Harwich, Sections 325-51Q, 325-51, and 325-55, and Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Sections 9 and 11. Property is located at 33 Old Colony Road, Assessors Map 41, Parcel C4-A, and is in 14,450 square feet of upland. The parcel is located in the Commercial Village Zoning District, CV. Good evening.
Good evening. For the record, Thad Eldridge. We've been here before. We've provided 3 additional plans. That would be a sightline analysis, a soil erosion and sediment control plan, and a landscaping plan with fence detail. The fence that we're down to, the abutters, we're not keen on having a fence. We gave them the option.
Right.
We'll be planting trees along the easterly and southerly and westerly boundaries, but there will be a fence around the dumpster.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm happy to take questions.
Before we go to the staff report, I just wanted to announce I rehabilitated myself from the December 2nd meeting and signed off on the Mullen exemption on January 13th, I guess, our last meeting. Would that be about the right date?
December 2nd.
December 2nd, but I signed off on both hearings from December 2nd on the January 13th meeting. So I just wanted that to be clear. Is there anybody else that wasn't, because I wasn't there? If you weren't there, if you're not here, please raise your hand. No, I think that's it, right?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Flynn.
Thank you. The applicant indicated, this is for a multifamily special permit, site plan review special permit, and just as updates in VHB's evaluation, they did request site distance analysis, and then also additional information on the fencing, and for their stormwater management. You'll notice in your packet in the staff report, I did go over some conditional recommendations from VHB. But otherwise, the site distance, the stormwater management and drainage were adequate for VHB. There were some recommended conditions relative to soil control, soil treatment, and additional test pits, which I think we rephrased it for the condition that once construction starts, should any unsuitable soils be identified, that the applicant would have to come back and have the stormwater design system reevaluated by VHB.
Quick question, is that subject to reporting by the applicant? And there, or is there any oversight in that, or is it just simply the way it's going to be?
So there's no particular oversight. It is a good faith condition on the applicant. However, During the construction phase, the building commissioner will also be evaluating some of the information. But it is, once they start to dig, I can also follow up with the applicant just to ask them to submit some pictures of any soil once they begin digging.
Great.
We'd be very happy to submit pictures and even a sample of the soil at the bottom.
So a couple of other conditions. I did talk with the health director, and so the applicant will have to apply for a Title V septic system per Board of Health approval, so the applicant is aware of that. The applicant was not able to secure an official lighting plan, so what we've done in the past with other applications is to require that all exterior lighting shall be dark sky compliant, downward shielded, and shall not trespass the applicant's property as required by zoning, and the applicant is willing to do that. They were not able to secure a company that does the actual fixtures.
We
We
found
have.
several who will, once contracted to supply the fixtures, they'll provide a plan, but they
Right.
won't provide it for permitting.
Right, got it.
And other additional, and we have done that for other applicants, we've allowed that condition to be part of the plan. Going forward, though, I will make a note that applicants should make a formal request for a waiver, just to be on to make it more formal. The applicant, VHB did also recommend that the applicant submit the maintenance plan and standard operation and maintenance plan, and who's responsible for overseeing, implementing that plan. And so we've asked for documentation prior to the issuance of the building permit. We also have asked that the applicant provide additional architectural renderings, just certifying that they are in compliance with 521 CMR and ADA requirements. And that those documents will also be submitted prior to the issuance of the building permit. And the building commissioner did talk with the applicant, and so she was comfortable with making that a condition for this project.
Very good.
And just some other normal conditions in terms of deliveries. We also conditioned that there would be no delivery of trash pickups before 7 a.m. and no later than 8 p.m. On weekends and weekdays, and that all parking shall be contained on site.
Parking space, yep.
And the applicant did revise the landscaping plan in addition to the solid fencing and screening, as well as the screening for the dumpster. And that's been noted in the packet.
Very good. Any questions from the board?
Questions? We had a lot of discussion last time about the parking. Have this been resolved?
Yes, so there are 6 parking spots, and VHB did. I spoke with them, and they were comfortable with the 2 curb cuts, and I did mention, we did talk about the site distance issues, and they were comfortable given the location of Old Colony Road and the level of traffic that's on Old Colony Road.
Okay, another question. On the findings of fact, the apartments are intended for year-round workforce housing, specifically for members of the fire and police departments. Didn't we have a discussion on December 2nd that wasn't something we could put in the deed, and it was a nice to have but not possible?
Correct. We can't, we
So we
don't have
still
the
have it
ability to enforce it, but it was, town council has always recommended just to add it as a finding of fact, that was the intention.
But it's not enforceable, and it's
Correct.
not, it's not pertinent, it seems nice, but not probable?
Correct. That's why it's not in the order of conditions.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, as I recall, we were going to accept a condition for no short-term rentals.
Yeah,
Okay, we can add that.
That was mentioned in that letter of January 7th.
Okay.
They also mentioned concern about trash barrels, but it sounds like that's been covered
Done.
with stockade. Is that the?
There's open.
Yep. And,
and was the fence,
yeah, the fence.
a collaboration with the neighbors, because that was a point of discussion as well?
So the fence to the neighbors on the east, that was collaboration. It
That was a
We'll give you a
collaboration.
fence. They said fence would be great. We'll give you
Okay.
trees. They said, let's do the trees instead of the fence. So
Okay,
that's where we landed on that. For the dumpster itself, though, we do want to contain that. So the fence that we are proposing, solid fence, either vinyl or wood, will go around that dumpster.
okay, and regarding ADA compliant, is that, does there need to be a ramp, or
We do have a ramp that we've added to the site.
you did add the ramp?
We
Okay.
did.
Okay. For access to the bottom two apartments?
So only one of them is required to be compliant or
Right, so it's just
accessible.
one, okay.
The other one is redevelopment, but the new construction apartment is required to be accessible,
Okay,
as well as the common space patio, and that ramp brings you right around to it.
okay, thank you.
Mary?
I just wanted to ask if, on the proposed condition number 5, which is relative to the ADA, I was just gonna add a clause at the end of it, so it'd say, prior to the issuance of a building permit, comma, which plans shall be satisfactory to the building commissioner in her sole discretion, as long as you're okay with that slight addition to that condition.
That's fine.
And then, we'll add on condition 16, that just says applicant agrees that the owners and occupants shall not permit short-term rentals as
16.
defined in Mass General Law.
Harry, any questions?
That's all I had.
I'm clear.
You're clear?
I'm good.
You're good? So at this time, I saw that we had on the screen some people some people that are here. Anybody in the public wish to discuss this, please address us by coming to the podium, giving us your name. I know we have a couple people online. Nobody's here going to respond to it. If anybody wishes to address the board. So do we have any, it doesn't seem like we have any objections, or, yeah.
You did have a letter from Bob Reddick in your packet.
Yeah, I would refer to that. Shall we read this in? Or do you think it's sufficient that it's been in and been discussed?
It's been in, and I think the board
When
has
was it in?
reviewed.
When was it
January
posted?
7th. So this is after the December 2nd and prior to the only piece of input that we've had on this. Now, it looks like, to me, that it's covered, but I'm happy to have it read in if that would, please the board. I'll leave it to your,
I think everything's been addressed.
okay.
And it's
I just want to go
good
through
to
it.
have you can mention it.
Well, it's certainly part of the record, so I'm fine with it either way, however you wish to go. Okay, hearing no objection or positive, I assume that we're ready to close the hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing is closed.
So I'd make a motion that we adopt, the planning board adopt the following proposed findings of fact. 1, the applicant's agent is J. Thaddeus Eldridge, PLS, East Southeast LLC, and the owner is William R. Glover III. 2, the subject property is 33 Old Colony, Assessor's Map 41, Parcel C4-A-0-R. 3, the subject property is located in the Commercial Village and Harwich Center Overlay zoning districts. 4, the application is for a multifamily special permit and site plan review special permit, which was filed with the town clerk on October 21st, 2025. 5, the project is to convert an existing 860-square-foot commercial office building by adding a full second floor to the existing building and adding a connected second building with garage to accommodate 4 one-bedroom apartments. The apartments are intended for year-round workforce housing, specifically for members of the fire and police departments. 6, the proposed project provides 6 parking spaces. 7, there are 2 curb cuts from Old Colony Road. 8, site distance renderings were submitted as referenced in the plans. 9, the applicant did provide stormwater management and drainage plans. 10, the landscaping plans comply with Conservation Commission list of native plants and trees. 11, the proposed project does include a screened dumpster as required by zoning. 12, the proposed project does provide a solid fence and landscaping screening as required by zoning. 13, the proposed project does meet the criteria for multifamily site plan review special permit and is consistent with the commercial village and Harwich Center overlay district. 14, the site is lawfully pre-existing non-conforming lot and frontage requirements and was granted zoning variances for rear setback for the proposed addition. The project does comply with the Harwich Center overlay district dimensional requirements. 15, the project complies with site coverage, building coverage, and height requirements for multifamily. 16, the proposed project was granted zoning relief, granted a dimensional variance from the 25-foot rear setback requirement for the addition, which is 18 feet from the rear setback. It should be noted that the Harwich Center overlay district does allow for a 10-foot setback and rear setback and encourages the redevelopment of existing buildings. 17, the proposed project does meet the criteria for multifamily special permit and site plan review special permit. 18, further, the board finds the following: multifamily special permit. A, the project is on town water. B, the project meets the required parking. C, the project meets the required open space. D, the project complies with all Title V septic system requirements per the Board of Health approval. And 19, in addition, the board finds that site plan review, A, the use as developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood. B, the specific site is an appropriate location for such a use, structure, or condition. C, there will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians. And D, adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. This includes the provision of appropriate sewage treatment facilities, which provide for denitrification when the permit granting authority deems such facilities necessary for the protection of drinking water supply wells, ponds, or saltwater embayments.
Have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
So I would make a motion that the planning board grant the applicant a waiver under Code of the Town of Harwich 325-43A, landscaping requirements. The parking area shall be effectively screened on each side which adjoins or faces the rear lot line of a lot situated in a residential district or any lot used for residential purposes. The screening shall consist of a solid fence or wall not less than 3 feet or more than 6 feet in height, or a planting screening which shall be composed of shrubs which are planted in such a manner as to effectively screen the parking area from view of the adjoining residential lot or lots. Such shrubs shall be evergreen varieties which are no less than 3 feet in height upon planting. Either type of screening shall be at least 2 feet from the non-street line and 15 feet from any street lot line, and all maintained in good condition. All planted material shall be maintained in such a manner so as not to create an obstruction to motorist vision of traffic and pedestrians.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And I would move that the planning board grant the multifamily use special permit and a site plan review special permit with the following conditions. 1, the proposed project shall install a new Title V septic system to be approved by the Board of Health. 2, all exterior lighting shall be dark sky compliant, downward shielded, and shall not trespass the applicant's property as required by zoning. 3, the applicant shall submit documentation of the responsible maintenance entity to ensure compliance with the approved operation and maintenance plan. 4, should groundwater or unsuitable soil be encountered during construction, The stormwater design system shall need further review by the planning board. 5, the project shall comply with 521 Code of Massachusetts regulations and ADA requirements, and the applicant shall submit architectural renderings in compliance with 521 CMR and ADA requirements prior to the issuance of a building permit, which plans shall be satisfactory to the building commissioner in her sole discretion. 6, deliveries and trash pickup shall not take place earlier than 7 a.m. and no later than 8 p.m. on weekdays and weekends. 7, the applicant shall adhere to all noise codes within the town of Harwich, particularly section 182-1. 8, the applicant agrees that all parking will be contained on-site. 9, the proposed multifamily special permit and site plan special permit shall be in accordance with the site plan referenced in the application materials listed above. 10, this decision shall run with the property. Conditions of approval shall be binding upon future owners. 11, the special permit shall not take effect until a copy of the decision bearing the certification of the town clerk and 20 days have elapsed after the filing of the decision, and either that no appeal has been filed or that an appeal has been filed within such time period, is recorded in the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds and indexed under the name of the property owner of record and the parcel address. 12, the special permit shall lapse within 2 years, which shall not include such time required to pursue or await the determination of an appeal referred to in General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 17, from the grant thereof, if a substantial use thereof has not sooner commenced, except for good cause, or in the case of a permit for construction, if construction has not begun by such date except for good cause. 13, changes to the site not authorized under this decision will require further planning board review and modification to this decision. 14, the applicant shall conform to the inspection, certification, and as-built plan requirements outlined pursuant to the Code of the Town of Harwich. And 15, the Zoning Board of Appeals case ZB 2025-17 shall remain in full effect as part of the planning board's decision. And 16, the applicant agrees that the owners and occupants shall not permit short-term rentals as defined in Mass General Law.
A motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion unanimous, I so declare it. Congratulations. Thank you. We now move on to the second section of the meeting, the public meeting portion of tonight's proceedings. We open with public meeting case PB 2025-37. Eastwood Companies LLC agent Susan Ledoux has requested a partial security release of case PB 2024-21, covenant number 36771/110 for 1594 to 1598 Orleans Road, Harwich, Mass., lots 1 through 7, Assessors Map 107, parcels S2-1 and S2-2 in the Residential Rural, or R, zoning district and the Zone 2 Drinking Water Resource Protection District, DWRPD. The owners, Louis J. Seminara Jr. and J. Bruce McGregor, general partner, JBM Family Limited Partnership, have authorized Eastwood Companies, through its agent Susan Ledoux, seeks approval of an 8-lot definitive subdivision plan on 2 parcels of land. Applications pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 41, 81K through GG, and the Code of the Town of Harwich, Chapter 400, Article 2. Yes.
We have to postpone this agenda item. We just received VHB's evaluation, so
Okay.
I have to forward that to the applicant to allow them time to respond to some of the issues that they raised.
Very good.
Thank you.
What's the best meeting date for that?
The next meeting for,
It's just a public hearing, so we don't have to.
yeah,
Right.
for February 10th, I think we can,
Feb. 10th.
I think we can resolve it by then.
Okay.
I'm not anticipating any outstanding issues. There were a few things that needed to be clarified with the amount, with the dollar amount
Right.
estimates, so
I didn't see Susan on usually, so.
I informed the applicant
okay.
earlier this afternoon.
Very good. That moves us on to item 2 under public meeting, case number PB 2026-01, 157 Route 137, LLC, through agent Michael D. Ford, Esquire of Ford & Ford Attorneys at Law, Waiver of site plan review for 157 Route 137, East Harwich, Mass., map number 87, parcel number U2-1-0, book 28648, page 154, for conversion of 504 square feet of existing basement storage area to office space with new exterior access, add 4 new pervious parking spaces, and modify 7 existing paved parking spaces to pervious spaces as shown on site plan entitled 156 Route 137, East Harwich, Massachusetts 02645, prepared by Cape and Islands Engineering, dated December 22nd, 2025. The applicant seeks a waiver of the site plan review process under Section 325-55F of the zoning bylaw to proceed with the improvements shown on the site plan, including any waiver of design and parking requirements deemed necessary. Good evening, Mr. Ford.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Mike Ford representing the applicant, 157 Route 137 LLC, through its manager, Aaron Polhemus. And with me also, I think, is, yes, there he is, based on the screen, John Barker, who's the head of the architectural division at PSD, is on as well.
Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone.
As you indicated, this is a request for a waiver of the site plan review process. Site plan is triggered by the additional space that's being created in this building. The space exists in the basement currently, but it's used for storage, and the PSD would like to convert it from storage to office. PSD is really divided into 3 segments in their company. They have their design, architectural division, they have their building division, and then they have a property protection division. The property protection people really don't have a spot in the building currently, a regular spot to meet and sit, and so this would cover, this square footage would be devoted to that area. Also involved is, in addition to the conversion of that space, is to create a new access into it, to give it a little light, a few windows, a door, so that, you know, when you're in there, it's not like you're down in a dungeon or something. It's a good airy space, and space that will be conducive to working. These people already exist. They're not going to be new hires. They already work for the company. So after we filed the application, I had a meeting with Christine. She suggested that we provide some additional information in support of the arguments. We filed 3 additional memos. One was from Mr. Aaron Polhemus, kind of giving you the background on how the operation works from an employment standpoint with staff. This was kind of always the way that PSD worked, but having people remotely, but with COVID, that became more of a permanent thing. And so there was a follow-up letter from him. Christine said, we need a number. How many people are the maximum number that are there on any day? And so I went back to Mr. Polhemus. He put that in writing, and that's in the second memo that was just filed today, which is 25 people is the maximum that are there. There's currently 35 spaces at the site. We propose 4 additional spaces to go to 39. Frankly, they think that's more than enough. They can actually get by with the 35 that are there, but they'd like to have the 39 because there are sometimes meetings of an entire division of the company or something where the parking lot fills up, but it's pretty rare. I do a lot of work for PSD. I'm there quite frequently picking up stuff, and I will tell you that I never have a problem finding a parking space in front of the building to come in and get whatever it is. So I think these numbers are real. I don't think that they're numbers that aren't true to form. The second issue is one I don't think you can entirely solve for us, and that is a zoning issue. The zoning issue results from a coverage question. With the site coverage, these additional 4 spaces brings us over site coverage. And so what we've offered is to convert 7 of our spaces to pervious pavers, and the additional 4 new ones to be pervious pavers. Now, the planning board can waive the requirement that they be asphalt, which is built into the parking requirements. You certainly have the authority to waive that. But I don't think that you have the authority to waive site coverage. I mean, I've read the bylaw, and unfortunately, the bylaw has that phrase that site coverage includes parking, driveways, and so forth. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it says regardless of surface, something to that effect. And so even where you come in and you make something pervious, you don't get credit for it, at least under the site coverage provision. And so what we're asking you is to grant us a waiver from site plan, because we do think that we meet that standard contained in the bylaw with the 504 square feet. That standard for the planning board being, and I think we put it right in our application, so I'm not sure it needs repeating, but I will repeat it. That we will not substantially change the relationship of the structure to the site and to the abutting properties and structures by converting this 504 square feet that already exists in the basement. But if you took the parking table, and we've had this discussion on this building before when I've been here, first for the original site plan and then for the addition that was had to the building that we had to come to you for as well. If you took the 25 max on any one day, and then you took another 250 square feet per the gross floor area, which is what the bylaw says, you'd have to have 54 spaces on this site, which would be just totally unnecessary. And so the intent behind the bylaw is to keep as much natural as possible while complying with the dimensional requirements. I think where this board has the authority to waive, I would ask you to deem that the 39 spaces that we end up with is sufficient to meet the parking in this particular case. And also give us permission, because you have control over design, and without your vote, we can't make those spaces pervious. They've got to be asphalt. So we'd like permission to do that. We'd like those additional 4 spaces. We'd like the conversion of the 5 spaces without going through a formal site plan, but we understand that any waiver you issued would be subject to whatever zoning relief is deemed necessary by the building commissioner. So we may find ourselves seeking a variance from that particular phrase. I understand it may be the subject of a proposed zoning amendment at town meeting, but it's not going to help me at this point. So.
Thank you very much. In fact, there are 2 items that are being in play that are resonant with your application. Ms. Flynn.
Yes, thank you. Pursuant to Harwich Zoning Code 32555, Section F, site plan review waivers, after reviewing the case for PB 2026-01, staff would recommend that the planning board grant a site plan review waiver based on the following reasons. The application proposes to convert 504 square feet of existing storage space to office space with an exterior access within the building. The application proposes to add 4 parking spaces as well as resurface 7 parking spaces with pervious materials to reduce impervious, pervious surfaces. There are a couple of typos in my memo. Apologies. And the building was built in 1988 with 6,759 gross floor area. The new space will total 7,263 square feet of gross floor area. It's not anticipated that the overall proposed changes would have any adverse impact to abutters or surrounding buildings. And the modification does not substantially change the relationship of the structure to the site and to abutting properties or structures. And with, relative to the site coverage, we have in the past conditioned applicants to condition the waiver that they will need to receive zoning board relief as a condition of the site plan review waiver.
Okay. Any questions from the board? None for you? Harry, please.
Just remind me, I know that PSD came to us within the last couple of years, maybe?
Yeah, for the addition.
Something, did that addition alter the parking requirements at that time?
It did. It did.
I don't remember the details. What?
Yeah. This was the addition,
That one,
Okay.
yeah.
under which there is this 504 square feet now.
Oh, it's underneath that.
Yeah. Pardon?
I now understand where the basement is, thank you.
Yeah, that's where it is. Yeah,
Okay.
because this part of the building is on a slab.
Ah,
Yeah.
got it, okay.
All right.
Question, just to,
Certainly.
in this now basement section,
Yes.
that it's the property protection services?
Property,
Yeah, our property services division.
Property
So we
services division.
maintain the houses in perpetuity, once they've been designed and constructed. We have a group that, services the houses, does annual maintenance. Storm watch this week, is very relevant. And they take care of the homes, for the long term.
Do they shovel? Just a question.
John, they want to know
We
if they
just had a
shovel
meeting
snow.
about plowing, earlier today. We'll say maybe.
This week, it's an important thing, but
Right.
I wasn't sure what protection meant. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay.
Alan, any questions? No questions. Mary, are you good?
So just, I'm looking at just Christine's staff report. Do you have the staff report?
I don't.
Okay. I was just going to say where Christine has recommended that we can condition the site plan review waiver, the site coverage waiver.
Yes.
So I was just going to suggest adding that to say, the applicant shall be required to seek a dimensional variance from the zoning board of appeals for site coverage, for the site coverage requirement. Is that language acceptable to you?
I was hoping that it would say, seek whatever zoning relief the building commissioner deems required. The reason I said that is I still think that the existing language has some vagaries to it, and I want to just sit down with them and have a discussion first. I haven't had that yet.
So I'll defer to my colleagues if they're okay with that language.
So let's,
I'm good with that.
yeah, the building commissioner can make that decision.
Yeah, the building commissioner will make that decision, right?
Okay.
Yeah, Christie.
Mary, would you mind reciting the condition?
Yep.
Thank you.
Just let me get ready.
Condition site coverage to be,
So I will just say the applicant shall be required to seek whatever zoning relief required by the building commissioner prior to the issuance of a building permit.
Correct. Obviously, we set it up so that if they recognize the pervious pavers, as we're hoping the town does in the future, many towns do, to get an incentive to get people moving in that direction, we meet the site coverage.
And then
That
is-
brings us under.
Brings us under.
So then
Yeah.
as far as the actual waiver for the parking, the asphalt from the parking, the language I was going to suggest is the planning board agrees to grant whatever waivers that are appropriate to allow the changes, which is in the same paragraph as the proposing to add 4 additional parking spaces and resurface 7 with impervious materials.
Correct.
So I'll just put that at the end of that.
That would be
paragraph, if
great.
You're okay with that?
And you might want to add in, and that the planning board finds that the total number of spaces of 35 is sufficient under the bylaw.
So that's,
Do we live
so that's in
with
there.
that?
Yeah.
That's already in that section. So
All
I
right,
think-
that's in
Currently
I think we're okay.
35?
Okay.
yes, Harry.
It looks like you're gonna have to go down the height of the foundation to make the new entrance, which would be 8 feet, more or less, which would put that, there's a little area below the stairs that looks like it's flat, it says impervious lower,
Yes.
impervious pavers. Does that create any, does your engineering show that that creates any drainage? I mean, you won't be draining at the surface any longer, you're gonna be draining 8 feet, which is considerably below the surface.
Yeah, we did have an engineer's letter, but I'm not sure that he addressed that, Harry. Let me just look at his letter.
It's just kind of a rhetorical question. If the building commissioner is happy with it, then it's not part of what we're doing here tonight. Just-
Yeah, okay, well,
I just wondered if it
This is
existed or if it was required.
it's not
It does not
required.
exist.
Additional drainage.
We're getting down there, I think, well, maybe John, can you shed any light on that?
Yeah, the drainage structure doesn't exist currently. There are plans to provide drainage and backup overflow drainage in that areaway space that will be tied to a drainage structure below grade to manage any rainwater that does accumulate in that area. So we are planning on
I think it's this one.
controlling that with subsurface drainage structures.
Could add that as a condition, Mary, if you, we wouldn't mind if you.
One more time, because I was reading something else.
That the applicant has agreed to add a drainage structure in the area of the access way into the basement to handle any drainage that is necessary in that area.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Any other concerns? Well, you're interesting on timing because I know this is, a couple of these issues are hot button topics for zoning board of appeals changes. So getting it, everybody's properly primed for these kinds of concerns. So.
Well, glad to see that the timing has finally become one that might happen, so that's good.
Ready for motion?
Absolutely.
So I would make the motion that the planning board grants a waiver of site plan review, subject to the following findings of fact and conditions. One, the application proposes to convert 504 square feet of existing storage space to office space with exterior access within the existing building. The application proposes to add 4 additional parking spaces and to resurface 7 parking spaces with impervious materials to reduce impervious surfaces and improve stormwater drainage. There are currently 35 existing parking spaces. The planning board agrees to grant whatever waivers that are necessary or appropriate to allow these changes as referenced. 2, the building was built in 1988 with 6,759 gross floor area, and the new space will total 7,263 square feet of gross floor area. The overall proposed changes are minor, and it is not anticipated that the proposed modifications will have an adverse impact to abutters or the surrounding commercial area. And the proposed modifications do not substantially change the relationship to the structure to the site and to abutting properties and structures. Sorry about that. 3, the project is located at 157 Route 137, Assessors Map 87, parcel U2-1-0. The property is located in the Commercial Highway-2, CH2, and DEP's Zone 2 Water Resource Protection District. 4, all zoning regulations have been met with the exception of site coverage. The applicant shall be required to seek whatever zoning relief is required by the building commissioner prior to the issuance of a building permit. 5, all previous planning board site plan review special permit decisions relative to this site shall remain in full force and effect. And 6, the applicant has agreed to add a drainage structure in the area of the accessway as needed.
Have a motion?
I'll second
We have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is unanimous, I so declare it.
Thank you. I should have mentioned, just for the record, the property is now connected to the sewer as well, which is good news because it's in the groundwater protection district, so,
Yeah.
There you go.
thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Ford.
Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Ford.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Barker. That takes us to the last public meeting of the evening, case number PB 2024-29. Davenport Companies is requesting covenant release, financial surety. The lots were created as a result of the definitive subdivision plan PB 2019-29 and performance bond 3329-292, known as Celebration Way, and located in the residential rural estate zoning district and assessors map 81, parcels C1-1, C1-2, C1-3, and C1-4.
So just to recap, the applicant for this project had submitted a financial surety for the road, for the construction of the road, and they are now asking for those funds to be released back to the applicant. And it wasn't clear when I went through the records if this vote had been taken. So in my discussions with the new finance director, they had suggested that we just take a new vote, and then I can send a letter to the finance director and the treasurer and collector and the finance team asking to release those funds in the form of a check to the applicant.
Very good. Any questions, concerns?
This is just paperwork that we missed somewhere along the way in 2024 for this?
I believe so, yes.
Okay,
And it's been 7 years roughly since they came up. Yes, sorry.
7 years.
Is the site plan that I'm looking at that's posted on the town website the as-built plan, or was it the proposed plan?
I think I'm not sure, Harry, I'd need to go look at it.
mentioned?
Anything that's on cases of the planning board is probably still what was proposed at the time, I doubt
Not the
the
amended?
as-built. The building department maintains as-built records, plans.
Well, there is a mention of as-built somewhere in here as I was looking this over. I
We
thought that
require
was a
as-built.
condition- That was, yeah, a condition of the release is as-built. So I just wondered if the document that I'm looking at is as-built or proposed, because sometimes they're not exactly the same.
Mhm.
Looks built.
It's a good question, I can find out for you.
What's the will of the board?
Do we know that we've approved whatever's been built there and there's nothing else that needs to be done?
Yes. I did confer with VHB last week, and so they had gone through their records, and the
We just
road
missed it?
conditions were deemed satisfactory, so this is just more of a procedural matter.
Okay.
I have
Thank
no
you.
objections.
So I guess I'd make a motion that, in the event that an as-built plan has been filed with building department as conditioned, that we vote to release the covenant and financial security for PB 2024-29 Davenport Companies for the area known as Celebration Way.
Have a motion, may I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have one item before we to get to the town planner update, which is item number 5 on the revised agenda, which is related to a presentation that I made to the Select Board on December 22nd, which was simply a exercise in supplementing the forthcoming local comprehensive plan by looking at visioning processes and my reflection on what kind of theoretical framework as well as kind of the practical research guides that would go into supporting that so that we get more in the business of planning and to balance out our permitting activities. The board was very enthusiastic. It was in the paper a couple of weeks ago, and it was simply They asked what I wanted. I said I wanted to have support for us to be able to do the research and get the consulting financial support from the board. And they said they'd be delighted to do it. And I think the last conversation was a resolution of support from the board to have some financial wherewithal of our own. Made sense. So that's what I'm proposing, is we resolve to fund that kind of research capability on the department and the board. I'm happy to discuss it. You can go see the presentation if you want. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. But and again, it's a extension of what we've been talking about for probably the last year and a half or so about having
That's
funds.
where I have to disagree. I
Okay.
do not think we've been talking about a form-based, switching to a form-based.
No, I'm not talking about switching to form-based,
No,
but I'm talking
but-
about the research and
But I think-
consulting.
So Duncan, I think that's where the disconnect, at least from my perspective, is coming. To me, the presentation to the Board of Selectmen presented it like the planning board was making a move to going to a form-based code. That was the impression that I got with what I saw and what I read. And that, to me, is, you talk about a visioning, the visioning should have happened during the comprehensive plan process. That was the visioning process.
Disagree. I disagree.
So,
Because we wouldn't do, a town wouldn't flip a switch and do a whole revamp of its code.
so you absolutely would do that, you would do the research as part of the visioning process, and it ends up in the comprehensive plan. To me, that's how you do the visioning process. It's during that rewrite of the comprehensive plan. To me, you're coming out with a comprehensive plan, and then you're gonna throw, you may put, the comprehensive plan might suggest a couple of changes that look like form-based changes that will complement what's already there, but to me, you're not gonna make a full-scale change after a comprehensive plan.
I read the local comprehensive plan last week, and it suggests that we need to actually undergo deep dive visionings for each of the villages. That's what it specifically says. So what I'm offering is, these are some of the things that go on with these deep dives. And if I consulted with the town planner in Orleans, who had developed it there, and in Hyannis, and in Falmouth, and in Wellfleet. And these are components that get layered in over time and researched gradually. And all I'm saying is,
Correct, so those are components.
but they would
have a-
never have done that for a local comprehensive plan. The plan itself is kind of generic with directional guidance. This is like the next step is okay, if we are going to do visioning and we are looking at zoning issues, which is what, one of our mandates, and what we're seeing are tectonic capital transfers and building
A form-based code is what they did under special act at the Weymouth Naval Air Station, when they went to a special act to change zoning to have a pure form-based code.
I'm not saying we should have a pure form-based code. I'm just saying we ought to know what we're doing, because we're getting into a situation where we have twice and 3 times as many citizens showing up for a single building than is required for a quorum at a town meeting. That means that we're looking at zoning and fundamental planning issues in our town that the public is very vocal about. So if we're not responsive to it, and the local comprehensive plan is right there along with it, that we've got demographic changes, investment pattern changes, as well as basic the building plans, where if you look at there are form-based code changes that are not, which we would want to avoid, and they're form-based. I'm just saying we should become informed as a board, and it's not something that's, available on the local level at the expertise. It's, there's a cluster of people regionally that do this, and I'm just saying we ought to be able to access that information.
I can see us looking at some form-based changes.
Right, that's fine.
But to talk about doing, again, I don't see doing a significant wholesale change, even, particularly after the comprehensive plan, because again, I
The
would say that
comprehensive plan
also.
is.
Can I
I'm
make a
agreeing,
comment?
The comprehensive plan hasn't been done. I'm just simply saying, in advance of that, which suggests that needs to be done, I'm just saying we ought to be prepared. Sorry, Ann, go ahead, sorry.
So the local comprehensive plan was done by a volunteer group, a very dedicated volunteer group that went through a long process for, I think, 2.5 years. But they're not
I'm familiar with it.
exactly, as am I. But in that, if you look at the takeaways at the back, what happens next? They all lend to planning needs to do this, planning needs to do this, without any, what is this, right? And it's not, I think there's a real need for now professional people to come in and give us a different look, all right? Instead of the 2.5 years of wonderful volunteers who put their time in it. So I think this is the logical next step, to get professional counsel
And-
about how do we then do more deliberate planning. One of the outcomes may be this form-based code in some form or another. But I think we're over our skis in what we can do with volunteer help right now.
So I would never suggest that a zoning change would go through volunteer. What I've been saying for 4 years at least is that our zoning bylaw needs to be looked at from beginning to end,
Right.
to pick up all of the inconsistencies
Exactly.
as it currently exists. And before we're even talking about adding form-based stuff in,
You're talking about cleanup, basically.
I'm talking about which amounts, knowing,
It's a lot of
See?
work.
seeing these inconsistencies. It's not something that we do locally, it's something that we have our town council do, to pick up those inconsistencies and revise the zoning bylaw so that we correct those inconsistencies and those missteps, so that.
Which we have talked about for 4
So this
years.
section matches that section.
So-
Exactly.
And that to me is step one, long before we start talking about doing,
Well, you realize
Adding on
step one is already in play.
no.
The
in my
zoning
own
board of
personal opinion,
appeals has already requested information to go to the planning department for a total of like 7 items. So
To go to
they're
town
under
meeting,
review right now.
to go to town meeting?
Which is a drop in the bucket compared to what we need
Correct.
to do on
But
the.
that's
on the
low,
zoning.
that's what I'm saying, low-hanging fruit. I would also tell you that if you look at the appendix, I presented all this material last summer to the local comprehensive plan, and they included it as part of, going forward, steps going ahead. So I'm not like, this wasn't any, this was a
It's an
personal.
addendum.
Right, addendum, and if, you're welcome to look at it. The link is online, you can read
But
it.
can I have, so.
Right.
But I think there are 2 things that we're talking about. One is cleanup, and the 2 is where are we going? The planning part, and where should we be going? Which
So,
needs
again,
professional help.
My view of the comprehensive plan, that was the visioning process.
I think you're
If
overstating
you
it.
want, if you go to the comprehensive, the local.
This isn't the only community that
committee.
I've seen comprehensive plans going through in these last 4 years. You know, the visioning plan is usually, is what that whole discovery process is over the course of the 2 years. So I can see going and looking at certain items to add on, but a wholesale change at this point, I just,
I don't know if you're talking about a wholesale change. I think we're talking about getting some outside counsel and consultants, not to then say, we're going to do whatever the consultants say. I think that's a reasonable thing to do.
so my comment would only be, I think we should clean up what's there first.
Well, then that's what's A or B.
going on.
Right.
I would assume that's gonna be an ongoing thing. And we've talked about it for a lot longer than 4 years, because
Yeah.
that was pre-COVID discussions with Charlene.
Yeah.
So, that goes back 7, 8 years.
Free
So,
Charlene,
right.
If,
between Kirstens.
I
we
would,
talked about that.
as a personal opinion, I would say this is even more vital as the number of cases in front of us to do larger and bigger projects increase. I think it's vital to have an outside look at where are we going, rather than the look that we get in all our meetings is this case, this case, this case, right? What the planning part of where is the town going, what does it look like for the 7 villages? Is it the same or different? Because otherwise, I think we're going to be nibbled at the side and be approving things, and then 5 or 6 years from now, will look totally different, but not on purpose.
So I get getting technical assistance on certain portions, but to me, this was the approach that I took away from the presentation at the select board meeting was on a much grander scale than I would expect us to be looking at right now. And I guess that's my 2 cents worth on it.
So you think it's basically too big,
I do, I think.
is what you're saying? You want to do the cleanup first?
So, yes, I do want to do the cleanup first, but I would also think that we would be looking at some pieces of a form-based code that we could add on without making wholesale changes to the existing zoning.
That's all what I'm talking about.
So that's
I'm not
how.
talking, I've never said an overall complete change to a form-based code.
We should look
The
at-
premise is that there are zones, spots of road that by our current code, we have to treat in this kind of uniform way. And it all has to do with use as opposed to form. So people can basically come in here, as we've seen, and say, well, we're gonna do it this way, and if you don't like it, we'll do it another way that will, you have zero planning control over. And so this is a way for us to at least contemplate alternatives for having, permanent changes, generational changes to the topography of the town that are use-based and that are, simply, as you saw, like the town, the voice of the town is like pretty strident about this in multiple cases that we get here in the last 2 years. So I think we owe it to the town to at least be responsive. And
So I think
again, this is not a
I
flip the
think,
switch.
I think town meeting will tell you what the town wants. I don't think our average meeting necessarily tells you on the scale as to,
I disagree. We
So
had,
what-
we
what
I
had
think-
2x, 3x, quorum for town meeting.
I think what
That's
you're
exactly-
talking about is engagement, okay? We've seen a lot more engagement in our meetings than we have I'll say in our 4 years. Town meeting is where you actually decide, and it depends who shows up or not. But I think the engagement factor of the town is telling us that, are we doing everything that we need to do? Should we be looking at it? We're the stewards of the plan for the town, right? And one of the ways that is in the local comprehensive plan, but it's not the only way. That's why getting outside counsel can only help us. Doesn't mean that you're gonna follow everything that they may suggest.
I mean,
again.
just as a
Yep.
quick, to kind of, I've been on this board a long time. I have not seen scale of projects like this the past couple of years.
Agreed.
And,
I'm gonna stop.
I mean, we're very brilliant people, but we do need.
I'm not saying
and
that we don't.
I understand what you're saying. It's like,
I don't think it's either or, Mary.
you're kind of like the cart. is
I'm not
before
saying
the horse.
we shouldn't get technical assistance.
I think,
I just think we should be looking at it on a smaller scale and not a grand scale. And I'll be honest, Duncan, when your last presentation to me at the select board looked like you were discussing a wholesale change of moving us from a use-based code to a form-based code. And that's why at the last meeting, I said, I thought that was too much.
I think it would be too much too. I think it would be
So that
foolish.
was the impression I got
I apologize for
from
the
the,
question.
from the conversation, because I also felt it came across like we had this as a full discussion on planning board,
No.
when we really hadn't, so.
Well, and I was, because I was there for the capital outlay, I was there to hear Duncan's presentation. I think there's a difference when you're in the room, and I didn't feel as a member of the planning board that he was speaking for anyone but himself. So I can just put that out.
The premise was that, and, like I said, I have said it several times, I'm very enthusiastic about local comprehensive plan, but it's also a corporate document that reflects
Yes.
the corporate output of the consulting entity, and the way that consulting entity operates is at a far lower degree of resolution than the work that we see on a building-by-building, zone-by-zone basis. And I want to change that spread so that we can snap into focus in a much tighter granularity. I mean, you know, and to the credit of the architects who've worked for us before, they're zooming in on that, matters of context and scale, and have been terribly, wonderfully, I should say, responsive to us. But they're not obligated to take those into consideration with our existing use-based code. So if we were to have chunks, and primarily, you know, essentially, village centers are the most vulnerable. In a village center that you change with one building, and I would encourage you just to go down to Hyannis and look at any one of the 3 projects that are underway. Those are actually, and, you know, those are, you know, enormous buildings, but those are products of form-based code. So the form-based code itself is not the answer. I'm just saying this is an alternative to getting us informed about what our options are.
It might be a
So,
hybrid here.
Right, so we may have, like, we may just find out that there would be a, you know, let's say, in one of the firms that was used up in B-Town, they might say, you know, form-based is not the way to go here because the density, or you have parking problems in the port, or you have
Right.
issues with too much traffic volume in East Harwich. I mean, I'm assuming that these are all things that are gonna come up. But, like, if you look at the local comprehensive plan, there's a threshold of focus, and it's very general. So each one of those villages, each of our seven villages, I think is worthy of a deep dive, and that's simply what the visioning, if you look at, again, like what I mentioned, any one of those firms that does it, they have, one of them has kind of like a visioning pathway that looks like this board game where you have stage gates that you go through, and they take you through that process. So I just think it would be, you know, on the heels of a great start with the comprehensive plan, which, you know, is gonna come before us for, is the
For a
right
vote.
word endorse or to support?
Vote to support,
Vote to support.
yeah,
So-
and recommend approval at town meeting.
Right, so I mean, I think this is all part and parcel of like a chain of events that, I mean, they're all gonna go together, and I don't have any particular, you know, outcome in mind other than us being more attentive to the threats to the built environment.
We could
and-
learn something
Right.
from other people who've done this elsewhere. We can learn.
So I resent the implication that I don't want to learn something from other people.
No, but I mean, that's
No,
the
but
outcome.
but I just want to make it clear that I can understand if we're seeking out some guidance on some form-based code matters, but I don't think, and what I don't see us doing is a wholesale switch from a use-based code to a form-based
I
code.
don't think we can. I don't think
And
we're big.
and that's where my concern was coming in, Duncan, and that's what I was talking about at the last meeting as well. That I think that would be too much of a switch.
I don't think you can, honestly, because form-based on that kind of situation only works for new town developments.
It doesn't work for.
It doesn't work in these, especially, and that's the whole point, I think, is that we've got 300 and whatever, 75 years or 380
Well,
years
and that was
of,
my point about the Naval
development.
Air Station in Weymouth. That was only done because
Because
it
it
was
was new,
it
yeah.
was a new development and it was a special act that
Right.
made it happen.
right,
And that's the only reason why they could pull it off.
right,
And I guess that's my ultimate point, that,
right.
that we're not in a position to be able to do much more than add
Spot.
in some layers in certain places that make
Correct.
sense.
That's all I'm looking at.
All right, then I'm a little more comfortable with it, but
Rather than, yeah, I don't think you're saying what the outcome's gonna be. I think this is about getting some help.
Well, and I would also say that in conversations with planners in our, you know, neighboring towns, that's not what they're involved with either, you know? And again, can be a double-edged sword. We just ought to be on top of it, that's all. And I'm just saying so.
I think it makes sense.
My turn?
Yeah.
Please.
Harry.
I agree with Mary about what she said about working on the existing code. I've been through this in one other community, and it is something that it's the kind of project where when you get finished with it, you need to start over from the beginning again.
Exactly.
Because there are a lot of variables, a lot of things change. So I think energy, in terms of energy, that would be a very good expenditure of energy. And personally, my approach to this work is, I like rules and regulations. If I have a question, no one, I doubt anyone comes here for my opinion. They come here for us to apply and interpret the rules that exist. And if we're going to make up our own rules, then I don't want to play, because I don't know enough to be able to make up a set of rules. They're already here, I can look at them, I can see what, I can have opinions about what they are and how they should be applied and whether they apply, but I like having the code. I don't claim to know enough about what form-based code would be. So it would be very helpful for me to see, I have a pretty good handle on the existing town code, parts of it anyway, the parts that we deal with. It would be very helpful for me to see a side-by-side comparison of what a form-based code would be as opposed to what we have. And in general, I would, my feeling about changing things that have been perfected and adapted and developed by people who came before me is that I really need a compelling reason to be in favor of changing something that's there. And, I can be convinced, but I don't know enough.
Somebody has to get up and walk around.
Oh, motion sensor.
Motion sensor.
There we go.
So I would love to see some examples of that in action. I'm not gonna claim that I know, when I saw the newspaper count of your presentation, so I read the Cliff Notes, not the actual book, but I thought to myself, I'm hoping you're gonna bring a little more depth on that subject to where I don't have any. Apparently you do, and that's great. I'd like you to share, and if necessary, have someone come visit us to give us.
This is all I want. And the select board wants to fund our ability to
interview
look at
people,
what
yeah.
is available for
I
us.
think that's a
all
great
it
idea.
is. That's
I
all
think
it
it's a
is.
great idea.
So, and a lot of this stuff was put before Cape First, or First Cape presentation in.
One
in-
Cape Summit.
One Cape, excuse me,
One
this
Cape,
summer.
First
And
Cape.
one of was an economic analysis that was just fantastic. We would really do well learning. And the other one, I don't think they foregrounded a particular firm or agency that does the research, that does consulting on that. But, the Congress for the New Urbanism in Boston, the New England chapter sent a whole list of available people, and we forwarded it on to the select board and department, and so, stuff is available.
So I think if I'm correct, Cliff Notes version of form-based versus use-based, right? Everything that we do now, it's whether if the use is allowed in the zoning district, the form-based is gonna be what design is allowed in the zoning district, and it's not gonna matter what's happening as much in the building, it's gonna be the design, which typically in Massachusetts only happens in a historic district.
Except in P-Town now, except in Falmouth and Orleans and Wellfleet.
So-
And what they want to do is encourage village building as opposed to as opposed to subdivisions.
But I think I hear what Mary's saying. If you already have, 75% of a built-out village, it's kind of hard to impose the remaining 25%, strict
No,
I
design
think-
rules.
But we don't, here's our problem, is that we're at the very end of our buildable lots according to our own code. So
That's
this-
what I'm saying. How
Right.
do you
So
put a
that's
form to that when it's already there?
because the land use laws are use-based as opposed to the development and the seeding of villages and neighborhoods. And so if we're gonna continue to grow, we ought to at least have an understanding of what growth patterns have worked since the 1690s or the 1630s, all the way down to, then what didn't work and what, people are now obviously kind of upset about in terms of density and kind of compression and size, and see what other alternatives we have. That's all it is. It's kind of seeing what's on the ballot, seeing what's available out there. We don't have to commit to anything.
Maybe another way to think about this is how do we manage future change?
Yeah, it's at least being responsible.
right?
responsible
Rather
to it.
than, here are the codes and regulations. It's like taking the 10,000-foot view and
Right.
say, change is coming. How do we manage it so it doesn't happen to us,
Right,
right? And so that there's a little bit more thought behind it, so that we also don't, to our community, not have everyone up in arms about things that are coming in that they don't understand, that are gonna change it, right? So that it,
But remember that what comes along with a form-based code is mixed use, and mixed
Yeah.
use sounds like a great idea until you have a beautiful building that has a commercial automotive use in it when it's next to, 3 other residential houses and a school. So,
yeah.
the picture might be pretty, but the neighbor might not want to live next door to the commercial automotive. So there are detriments to the form-based code just as well as there are.
And I don't know whether the form-based code is the outcome, is my point of view. I think that we can learn from other people, and maybe the answer eventually will be a hybrid. I also want to really support this, that we got to clean up the code, and that's almost like we should be doing it anyhow, right? So I don't think they're exclusive. I don't think you do one and not the other.
And if I'm understanding form-based code correctly, I can see the value in having guidelines to give an architect when they're designing something, to tell them what is going to fit and what isn't going to fit, and avoid, 85 people at a meeting getting angry and all upset about what's gonna happen. So if that's what it is, then I think that's great. I don't know how it would be implemented, and I'd love to see an example or examples of side-by-side does it address completely different issues than our existing code, the use code? Because if it does, and it's an adjunct to, here's how much square footage you're allowed to have, and here's the setbacks and all of that, which is what we have. And in addition to that, the design features, whatever they might happen to be, would be written into the code. If that's what is happening, I could see value in that.
I think that's
I'm
why.
not sure how it would work, but I can see how.
But is the ask tonight
so
to
the ask
just say,
tonight is,
yeah.
so the select board wants us to be able to, get
Explore
informed
it.
about this. That's all it, when I presented the idea that, hey, can we at least find out what's going on? That's all it is. I'm not saying that we're gonna do this, or, I'm just saying, let's,
Are we preparing a report? Are we?
No, we're
No,
asking,
it's just-
maybe
can I-
there might be a grant.
well, yeah, that's the other thing, is that according to Elizabeth, said there are 3 grants available. We can offset whatever, like probably, a half, to some extent, of what the town might allocate for funds.
We
So-
could apply for grant.
Or apply for grants, right there. And there's one grant thing that just opened up like the other day, so.
Yes, there were several planning grants that just were announced by the state.
So that helps pay for it.
So from my perspective, just setting expectations, I don't think switching from, and just from what I've seen, I don't think switching from a form-based versus a use-based, I don't think you get less people showing up. I think they're showing up for different reasons. Instead of showing up and saying, I don't like the look of the building, or it's too big on the scale, they're going to come and say, I don't want this in my neighborhood. It's gonna be,
Well,
they're
this
gonna
is-
be
this is
complaining
what I-
about the use versus the thing. So I don't think one is any better than the other
I think you're right.
keeping people satisfied. I think it's just a different,
Do you
Yeah.
it's a
think,
different look.
do you think there'll be an increase of NIMBY?
Do I absolutely. But that's my own.
But here's,
So
but
I
here's.
grew up, in a city that made the choice specifically, when New Jersey was going with mixed use and cluster zoning, we made the choice with our redevelopment authority not to do mixed use, to keep our industrial,
Right.
and to keep our residential.
Right.
It was done very intentionally,
Right.
despite all of the push that happened in the 70s and the 80s in Massachusetts to go to a mixed use and to go with cluster zoning. We kept it separate. I personally, that's how I grew up, that's how I liked it. I didn't wanna have to worry about having, commercial automotive, car sales next door to me. But that's a choice. And when you make that flip and you start talking cluster zoning, the push is so that it's more walkable, that people are living and working in the same area. Some people like that and some people don't like that, so it's all gonna depend. And I think here on Cape Cod, we pull from so many different areas in the country that we pull people from New Jersey that grew up like that, and we pull from people in, Vermont that didn't. So I don't know that you're gonna see a big difference in the amount of people that come. I think you will see a difference in what the concerns are, that's all.
I would only say that, again, this isn't like blanket zoning of the town. This is.
I understand that.
All right, so we're not gonna take let's say, South Harwich and say, okay, now it's gonna be, industrial or something like that. I think the real point of the matter is that even.
That's what a use-based code is.
But I'm saying what you would find, what you're finding in Hyannis is that form-based code itself is being blamed, to your point. So it's not whether or not, the form base is gonna be the answer or the angel or the devil. It's what are we as the town going to demand in our future for keeping us either as a town, or we're gonna become a suburb? Are we gonna become like a drive-through area?
I
And
understand
that, the only thing has to do is, we don't have to have a philosophical argument tonight, the question is whether or not, are we going to accept the beneficence of the select board to help us look a little further down into the future for what Harwich could be, what we wanna look at, what we don't wanna look at, that is not in the local comprehensive plan. A little, again, like higher resolution image of what we could have. That's all it is. And I think we ought to, I didn't expect to go in there, I didn't expect to have any kind of conflict over the thought that we might actually have a little more, responsibility as a planning board over the planning in the future of the town.
I will say, as a planning board, we requested for 7-8 years to get the $250,000 to do the comprehensive permit. So, not knowing what another study is gonna cost, it's more money. So, and yes, I would support us learning something, but I also don't know what that cost is gonna be yet either, Duncan, right?
Maybe that's the
Not
next
knowing whether
step.
there's a grant or what the overall cost is gonna be and how much a potential grant might cover it or not cover it. So,
Well,
I know our budgets are very tight,
I do too.
so.
Seems like that would be a good place to start, though. If there's money out there and we can
There's
apply
money,
for the money,
absolutely.
we should be able to tell who's giving us the money, what we're gonna do with the money. So,
This is, all those conversations and those communications have been directed to the department, and the select board asked me as not the planning board chairman, but as somebody who's interested in this process, because I'm not gonna tell the board, but I just was coming here to simply see if you would support the idea of being, enlarging our remit to the town, our responsibility. If you don't wanna do it, I'm gonna ask the town to do it anyway and hand it off to the department.
well,
As a citizen, not as a chair
Okay.
of the planning board.
If at
But I-
some point-
That's a little bit disingenuous, Duncan, the way you say it. I mean,
Why?
so I guess
How would
I'd
that be disingenuous?
So
I'm
I'd
just
say it
simply
this
saying
way.
that the town is sensitive to what we're going
No,
through.
what you just said is, I don't care whether you're gonna vote, whether the planning board wants to do it, I'm gonna do it anyway.
They asked me to go and do
That's
all
how you
this.
just came across. I'm trying to be honest. From my
Okay.
perspective, if Christine thinks that there are valid grants out there that the planning department and us should apply for in
Right.
order to do it, then I say yes, go for it. Keeping in mind that we ultimately will need to figure out what the requirements are of those grants and how much money the town has to pony up in addition to those grants in order to make something happen.
Exactly.
I would say,
Explore
for
it.
me, if someone at some point is gonna ask me my opinion about what we do moving forward, I will need more information. So if I'm required to go out and get that information myself, that'd be great. If it can be brought to us so that we can incorporate it into future discussions, future decisions, I think that would be better.
I think that's
But-
what we're trying to do. I don't think, I
That
think we're
means I
trying to
agree
make it a
with you,
formal, yeah, but we're making it
Don't
formal.
sell past the close.
Thanks, Harry. Harry agreed. Is it, I think we're being asked, is this a good idea to get information on?
So I've gone on record as saying, if.
We've
we-
gone, okay, so,
If Christine thinks that there are grants that we should apply for in order to do this, then yes, I think we should go forward with it.
okay. So,
Keeping in mind that I think our ultimate, setting expectations should be that we're doing small slices and not a wholesale code change.
Correct,
Yes.
100%. And setting aside, too, the fact that this is a wheel that turns slowly, and, you know, one wheel is
We'll be
closing
ready
off.
for it when we're doing the next
When the
local
next,
comprehensive
right,
plan.
this is coming through, this will be months away, so I mean, I'm just like, let's see what happens. If we get it, we get it, we don't, we don't. The town's
it a
interested,
try.
and the town also has apparently all sorts of material in the budget that has not been used, so there's some leeway to have this discussion in a meaningful way. That's why, that's the encouragement from Tony, so.
Are the grants that are out there, are they specific towards this?
They're specific for planning grants and to help assist the towns, whether they want to look at, mixed-use, multifamily, and
It's a wide net.
it's a wide net, and I think we can tailor it in a way that we can ask for some technical assistance to maybe have a consultant do an evaluation based on the current codes and what they would recommend, just in specific areas of some of the villages. I don't think, I would agree that this is not to change from a use code to a form-based code.
Correct.
And I think, maybe if there's consensus to identify some specific areas that we felt would be appropriate to have some design guidelines, I think there are opportunities out there that we can ask for technical assistance. And the Cape Cod Commission is also a great resource that we can also utilize in terms of what other towns on the Cape have done, but what other communities are doing in Massachusetts and elsewhere.
So from my perspective, what would make sense is looking at, I guess, limiting it to what we would consider the village centers,
Bingo.
the
Seven
Harwich,
100%.
villages?
the
Seven
stretch of Harwich Port, the stretch of Pleasant Lake, the stretch of
Or the
in East
center.
Harwich. Much more than that, I wouldn't think would be worth getting into.
Well, I mean, I think we ought to like.
I just think because if you're talking about the look and feel, your neighborhoods are built.
Right.
So when you're talking about the look and feel, you're talking about those common areas that
Right.
everybody is driving through, right? Right. The-
That,
this-
but also,
the stretch of the
I would
village.
also argue, and just for the sake of being open-minded about it, is that there's probably, North Harwich used to be the industrial center of the Cape.
Yeah.
Of Harwich, and
Yeah.
that the big intersections that we have, we're looking at substantial development anyway, and it would be, interesting for, I would think, for us to at least entertain somebody who's gonna have like a helicopter perspective and say,
So I think if you're going
this
to.
is what you may not be seeing.
I think you need to define what's the center of each of the 7 villages, right?
Correct,
And
Coming out of
give
the-
yourself a circumference
Right.
for them to look at.
right.
So that's getting into the specifics, what's the remit of this?
Well,
Right.
So,
but I think,
we're
but I think
getting
from,
past that, do we think it's a good idea? I think tonight we're just saying, is it a good idea?
but I think if Christina's going to be charged with is looking at doing grant applications, she's gonna need some feedback in that sense in order to put language to the grant applications in order to be able to
Right.
build the argument for why give us money.
Well, and the thing is, if we get the ball rolling here, and the point is, and according to Elizabeth, letters of intent or letters of interest, we'll get our feedback really quickly, whether or not this is a viable thing or not, and, I mean, that's
So it's,
smaller than doing a grant, so.
so it's almost like permission to
Sounds good.
start this. Is that where we are? I'm not selling past the close here, I'm just trying to say what happens next.
I'm gonna be thinking about that.
I'd still love to see town council looking at the rest of our zoning changes.
I agree.
Not for town meeting,
Yeah.
not for annual town
John
meeting, but
Eidman has a
fall town
whole,
meeting.
John Eidman has a whole Word document of that, and I think Charlene had something, you know, whatever.
We
it
were
was,
so close.
2016 or 2017,
Oh, yeah.
the same things. It's out
We were
there.
so close. We just, you know, we lost
But you know
I
planners
mean, I've been
along
on
the
the
way.
board 10 years and Alan's been on longer than I have, so.
Oh, yeah, it's been a long time. Long
But
time.
there's
So-
stop-starts, right? We never quite get to them.
Yeah,
Well,
Christine,
because
And
you
town hall
have to take
staff
the
have-
low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, I know.
And then you have 27 different drafters that draft
I
a
know.
different section of the zoning bylaw, and that's why it needs a recode.
No argument, no argument. I think they're two distinct things.
Yeah, I totally agree with Mary that it's a living, breathing document. We always need to be revisiting
Amen.
that because it needs to be current. And, you know, land
It
use
isn't.
development and policies change. So I think it's the timing of this is really great with now that we've come to a final draft of the local comprehensive plan and we are ready to submit that to annual town meeting. And I think these grant opportunities are just a next step to come up with maybe an outline of the scope of work for consideration. And the LCP did encourage looking at more village, village planning per se, you know, just to really get it on the, as Duncan indicated, a more granular level. And I do think that there are specific spots in town that I think would really benefit from, if for nothing else, just having the discussion and the exercise to start really looking at what's our future and what do we want.
and I would also just add one thing too, very quickly, and that's that Brian and Ken at ZBA have a file, a stack of revisions and what have you, that you've been working on, I know. And so like, that's even,
Thank you.
we got a runway for a long way to go with existing stuff right now that they've,
And to Mary's point, town hall staff has really started to look at the inconsistencies just on Mass General law alone.
Oh, I know.
And
Right.
there are multiple
Okay.
areas that are inconsistent.
Just a quick question while we're on zoning. Are we ready to look at the ADU changes?
We will be in February.
Okay.
We'll have drafts of the ADU language. The zoning compliance officer and I are working on that.
So that'll
Has there
make
been
town
any
meeting.
discussion about looking at putting in an overlay district for starter homes?
We haven't considered that. We were just considering cleaning up the Chapter 40A, Section 3 of the Dover Amendment, but also to fold in the fact that the town has already allowed ADUs by right up to 1,000
Yep.
square feet.
That's but the overlay for starter homes is in the LCP, isn't it? Yeah.
So that was the reason why I was just asking if that was
Yeah.
something you were looking at.
I
for
think
this
it's
year.
something to look at definitely for the future, and once we get into the implementation strategies of the LCP, and because we've identified a lot of zoning, and the starter home was a big part of the housing production plan.
It was
and-
a big
Yeah,
part, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was asking,
Yeah.
because I also think a starter home zoning would be helpful in
So many ways.
a little bit for affordable, but it might have a situation with affordable, but at least with workforce,
Mhm.
right?
might be a situation that can help us in that area, so, which might take some of the pressure off of.
Sooner rather than later, kind of what you're saying, right? For that
Yeah.
one. Yeah, I agree. Okay.
Assuming there's an appropriate area in town that actually isn't developed that could handle an overlay like that, so.
I'm
I
trying
mean,
to think of where that would go, but I guess
I'm
that's
having
a
the same
discussion for
I
another
know,
night.
Yeah,
But,
don't make my head hurt more tonight, yeah. Okay.
So can I report to Tony and to the board of, select board that we have a basic consensus to support their wanting to fund
Yeah.
the research?
Yes,
And
I
Grant,
think
okay.
you've got it.
All right,
I
great.
mean, Christine can report that for us as staff.
Sure.
Correct. All right. Now we have zoning working group update, which is
So-
great.
So we have been, tomorrow we'll be meeting, have our third meeting of the zoning work group. And I do want to be clear, because I know Ann had raised concerns about open meeting law and transparency.
Yep,
The goal is really, I think after May, to maybe, for the planning board to request to the select board to have a standing zoning task force, and to have them appointed, to have at least one member of the planning board, the ZBA, Conservation Health, as well as the Affordable Housing Trust, to be appointed as a committee. And,
is that
Because I
public
think-
then?
I'm
Is
sorry?
that public?
I'm sorry?
Is that then public?
It would be public, yes. And
But the
it would be
zoning
in a-
task force would be the, would come out of the zoning bylaw work group, is that correct?
That's what I would like to morph it into. I think after a town meeting, I think it's a good next step to really just encourage transparency, but it also allows other boards to participate more formally. And then there's, at least, we can begin to look at some cleaning up of the zoning bylaws, and then really beginning to prioritize how we want to change some of the zoning as well. And so, Ann, to your point, I think that would be my intention after annual town meeting. We do have a couple of,
As long as it had a very specific remit, rather than task force can mean anything, so that it's defined what that task force would do.
it could be a task force, or it could be a zoning committee, a zoning review committee, or something to that effect.
Right, as long as we give it a purpose, and then people understand what it's for and what comes out of it.
Mhm.
Is it advisory to us, or, how does it work?
It would be advisory to the planning board, because it's the planning board that's responsible for zoning changes.
Right, I just want to make sure we have, the public knows what it's about too, that what the action is leading to.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. And so for the zoning work group, we've been doing the ADU bylaw as well as multifamily. And there were a couple of other additions for two-family site plan, site coverage. The definitions just really changing, tweaking some language, and as well as removing setbacks for a shed, and there was,
Pervious and impervious.
well, for the site coverage
Right, site
definition.
coverage, yeah,
correct, yeah. So there were a couple of items that, just very small, minor tweaks, but I think
Would help.
would
Also
help with some
permitting
of
on
the
basements.
processes. What's that?
Or permitting on basements.
Permitting, outfitting a basement.
Yeah.
That was the other.
That was the other one, yes. So, so that's one update. For the local comprehensive public hearing, we did agree for February 24th, and for zoning bylaw amendments, that would be on March 10th. I do want to ask if we could allow me to have a little bit of flexibility. I'm working with, I have to follow up with town council relative to warrant articles for the local comprehensive plan. And I just want to make sure when we do the legal ad that all of the language is appropriate, and
When does it due, the language due, or the warrant?
they're not due just, I don't have a specific date. I know that administration has asked if we have different language for staff to submit by, I believe, February 2nd. But I will double check on that date, Ann.
So we wouldn't have met for the local comprehensive plan by
I've already
that
put a
time.
placeholder for the warrant article,
Okay.
so it's just doing the language of how to describe the local comprehensive plan and what it is we're asking at town meeting.
And the language changes almost up to town meeting sometimes, right?
It could, but I don't want that to, I want to
It's the
have
print
this
date, right?
ready.
It's the print date that drives it, I think.
Right.
So is
So,
the plan, is the plan language what you're still looking for flexibility on, or just the article
dates.
language?
Actually,
Dates.
the dates
Okay.
of when we are holding
But is
public
the
hearings.
plan is finalized,
Oh, okay.
you're just flexing on what how the article is gonna be written for town meeting, is that?
Yes, and that's what I need to work with town council, and so that's why I'm asking for the February 24th and the March 10th, just in case if I need to switch dates, if everyone would be okay with providing me some leeway on that.
100%.
The plan has to be finalized before the warrant's published.
Yeah.
Plan is finalized, final draft
We have
is
to
all
have
done. It's the warrant
what it
article we
is.
just need to work on, and I'm working with town council to get language on that. Okay, so we did upcoming meetings, the Cape Cod Commission, West Harwich DCPC design guidelines, I did add that on an update. We'll have that as a to be determined sometime in the next few months. My work schedule is a little bit tight right now, but I do want to work with the commission to have them come in and do a presentation and an update, and hopefully if,
Do we need a hearing on that too?
we should do a public hearing and invite the public, and if there are any changes, there may not be any changes from the last time this was presented. The board never voted to approve the design guidelines, so,
Well, I would think if we're approving guidelines, we would have to do it just like we were doing any other kind of rule setting.
correct.
We'd have to have public hearings, we'd have to have, they have to be
Absolutely.
advertised, we'd have to take the formal vote
Mhm.
and all of that, so.
Yes. So that
No
would be
different than
my
subdivision
intention.
plan, rules and regulations.
And I think these have been in the office since 2019 or 2018 or something like that, right? When you look at the Cape Cod,
Yeah.
so like I don't think we're gonna, if we don't do it tomorrow, it's not gonna make it.
No, but still, to the extent.
But we have to do it right,
Yeah.
100%.
So when we do vote it, we have to vote it appropriately, but we also need to know, and I think it's a good ask of Cape Cod Commission to give us guidance on what's mandatory, what's discretionary.
Right.
Who it's who it's
The design
mandatory
guidelines
for.
are just, that's it, they're just guidelines, they're not requirements, so, but I agree
How
with
do
Mary
they-
that we do need to have a public hearing process, and I do think we really want to encourage the public to come in and provide input as well. Added to that, on Thursday, there's a coastal resiliency workshop that's being hosted by the Cape Cod Commission and has been also part of the Pleasant Bay Alliance, which is Chatham, Orleans, Harwich, and Brewster. And so they're working on, the four towns have started to work together to talk about model regulations within the flood zones, and the workshop is in the Chatham Community Center on Thursday from 10 to 12. You're all invited if you'd like to go. Some of town hall staff will be in attendance, and but this is the first workshop that they are presenting some of the information to planners, staff, as well as members of boards. So
It's a Chatham Community,
Chatham Community Center, so it's right before the Rotary,
the one that
before
used to
the
be the old high
theater.
school.
It's the high school, yeah. And this is this Thursday?
Yes. And so it's ongoing, and so I think it's been a good exercise. As staff has been talking about the zoning work group, just some other some other additional zoning recommendations for the floodplain management.
Is the hazard mitigation plan redone?
The hazard mitigation plan has been complete. We held a public information session in December. We also did a presentation for the Board of Selectmen so that they authorized us to submit that to MEMA, and the Cape Cod Commission did submit it to MEMA, so we're waiting to get certification from FEMA and MEMA.
So there's nothing left for us to do on that one?
Great.
And I am also working with DCS to finish the open space and recreation plan. We have three outstanding items that, minor tweaks that we need to adjust in order to get full approval for the OSRP, and that will be good for the next 10 years, so, yes.
As an aside, do we know when Cape Cod Commission is expected to make a decision on Witchmere Harbor?
I don't know. They had a subcommittee meeting this evening. I was not able to attend it. I did submit my letter at their request for the consistency of the 2011 local comprehensive plan.
Yeah, you had said you had to do that.
Yes, and it's a technical requirement, so I did also submit consistency findings for the final draft 2025 LCP as well as the 2011 LCP. So,
While we're on the LCP, we're trying to avoid the problem we have now, which is you only could comment on a 2000 PC LCP for Witchmere, nothing after that. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
So we were talking about Witchmere and come up. The LCP that's used for Witchmere is from the year 2000.
Correct.
So in the work we're doing to support this LCP, it's then that one would be the one that is in force, correct?
After town meeting and after the Cape Cod
right,
Commission has certified it, but for this round, through the commission process, they're
We have to use the
considering the
two-
2000.
Which is
It's a technical issue that the Cape Cod Commission requires, that the local comprehensive
Which is
plan
really
has to
a-
be certified by them.
but it's a crime that we're using something that's 26 years old.
Understood.
The commission had a meeting in November or December about Witchmere.
Correct.
They've had a series of meetings.
I didn't hear anything about it. Was anything substantial?
They're in the process of evaluating it as a development of regional impact. It's at the subcommittee phase, and I think today they would be recommending to the full commission the findings that the current project as presented is consistent with the regional policy plan, and that
That's what they're
the
going to.
project is consistent with the town's 2000 local comprehensive plan that was certified by the Cape Cod Commission.
So that's all, those are the only questions they're asking?
No, the commission staff did a thorough evaluation of their regional policy plan, which is a couple of 100-page document for incorporating all development types and placement types for water resources, natural resources, whether
There's a
it's
whole-
coastal, whether it's wetland, plant habitat, as well as affordable housing, economic development, water quality, water resources. So it runs the gamut, just like any other local comprehensive plan, but it's Cape-wide. So their staff submitted a 20-page evaluation, section by section, and they found the project consistent with their evaluation criteria.
Okay.
Well, and then it's going to come to us at some point.
Correct. So the
But
commission.
it's not finished.
It's, the review process is not finished. It still has to go to the review, the full
committee.
commission. And the subcommittee makes the recommendation to the full commission. They then hold a series of public hearings, and the commission can either approve the project as presented, approve it with conditions, or deny the project. And if it's been denied, all permitting at the local level stops.
And this is their second round through. On that, when
They
is,
withdrew the first time.
right, but it's the second round through. When is the next meeting? Since the January 22nd was canceled, is there a February one to come up to speed
There
on
was
that?
one today, and there's going to be a full commission meeting, and I don't have a date for that. But once I find out, I will share that information with you.
I think
With
we'll
a-
see it before town meeting.
Supposed to be February is the next one.
We could.
No, but I mean, by the time it goes through us, I mean, my goodness, it's gonna be a loaded platter of spinning plates.
you know, talking about size of projects, that's estimated $60 to $90 million investment.
I believe it.
Thank you very much, Christine, for the reports. We have one piece of correspondence I
Yes,
noticed
thank you.
here. Before we get to old and new, I just wanted to, has everybody had a chance to read this from Mr. Urbano? I believe what he's talking about is, I'm trying to remember, because I
Phase
read.
4.
Yeah, Phase 4, exactly. So,
Is this what it, oh, it is Phase 4? Okay.
yeah. So I just want to make sure that this is in the packet, we are aware of the concern, and this will be, I suspect we'll be discussing these issues on an ongoing basis. So Mr. Urbano is certainly welcome to attend and present at his convenience. Now, old business, do we have any old business? I think we've discussed a lot in that update.
Correct. Yes, I don't have any old business.
Do we have any old business? Okay. Have anything for the good of the board at this point? Move to adjourn.
Second.
There we go. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Alan.